Joining us now with a look at the importance of next week's primary is Dantes Scala. He's an associate professor of political science at the University of New Hampshire. Good morning.
Good morning.
Big week.
Big week.
Give us a lay of the land right now.
Well, I mean, Mitt Romney has been first in New Hampshire all year long, and really he never stopped campaigning in this state since his narrow loss 4 years ago. And really 4 years of work, almost 8 years of work, has been building up to this moment where he steps forward as the national frontrunner.
Who besides Romney has the organization to compete here in New Hampshire? Ron Paul had maybe the strongest organization of anyone in Iowa. What does he have here? What does Huntsman have here? You know, can they put on a serious challenge?
Yeah, I mean, Ron Paul also has been campaigning for years in New Hampshire, and he has a strong organization. He's broadened his base of the vote. He's polling about twice as well as he was 4 years ago in the primary. So he's poised perhaps to take second place in New Hampshire, which is a bit of a surprise given all the candidates that have come and gone this year.
I suppose everybody now wants to know about Rick Santorum since he's the big story coming out of Iowa, but he comes to New Hampshire with not much by way of organization or a lot of money to spend. So what do the next couple of days look like for him?
Yeah. He has considerable upside in this state. He hasn't spent much time on the air, but he has spent a lot of time on the ground visiting the state. His national campaign manager is an old New Hampshire hand who goes back to the days of Pat Buchanan. They know the state well. They're going to make the most out of the momentum and the free media that they're going to earn this week. How
does a social conservative like Rick Santorum do here in New Hampshire? Because you see others like Michelle Bachmann, like Rick Perry, who are skipping the state altogether, and Newt Gingrich has seen his numbers drop significantly in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think a good baseline for Rick Santorum is how Mike Huckabee did 4 years ago. Huckabee, evangelical, won Iowa, came to New Hampshire, won 10% of the vote. I think that's a floor for Rick Santorum. I think he could easily finish in the money in New Hampshire, ahead of Newt Gingrich, perhaps even ahead of John Huntsman.
And what about Huntsman? I mean, he keeps saying Iowa didn't matter. It all comes down to New Hampshire.
The difficulty for John Huntsman is he's no longer the story in New Hampshire. Rick Santorum's the new face with a lot of momentum. Ron Paul's strong. Mitt Romney had a good night last night. I mean, no presidential candidate on the Republican side has ever won Iowa and New Hampshire in the same cycle. Not Reagan, not Bush, not McCain. So the Romney people are going to take an 8-vote victory and sell it.
Right. So the old saying is, of course, 3 tickets coming out of Iowa to get to New Hampshire. How many tickets out of New Hampshire are there to get to South Carolina?
I think 3. I mean, I think you see Rick Santorum, Ron Paul, and Mitt Romney. If they finish in the top 3, I think those are your 3 candidates going to South Carolina and maybe beyond.
How significant is it that the former nominee, John McCain, is expected to endorse Mitt Romney here in New Hampshire today? He won New Hampshire 4 years ago.
Yeah, and there was no love lost between those two back in 2008. So it's significant, but Mitt Romney's campaign is it's not about momentum. It's about maintaining what he's had all year. But it does take some shine off of John Huntsman, who's been trying to run this maverick John McCain-like campaign here.
It does seem like, you know, Gingrich and perhaps a couple other candidates, maybe Perry, might end up throwing their support around Santorum now that he's gaining steam and start hitting Romney, who's not accustomed to that.
Yeah, and that'll be a real test. I remember 4 years ago in debates leading up to the primary, Romney took it from all sides, and he didn't get the best of that exchange. But he's a much better campaigner, a much better debater. He's had lots of practice in New Hampshire, so you can expect him to give as good as he gets.
You ever feel like you're living your entire life in 1 week?
Yeah, pretty much.
Quite a week here in New Hampshire for you.
Absolutely.
Dantes Scala, we appreciate you being with us. And